will be popping up on our screen. And if you are needing of any private investigation, any weapons training, things like that, definitely reach out to R30 Agency. They are a great sponsor. We love them. And thank you so much for your sponsorship.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Al.
If you are interested in sponsoring our show from a business perspective, then you can reach out to us. We have different sponsorship packages available. We'd love to hear from you. Or if you just love to support us, you could drop us a super chat with a $5 donation, either on YouTube or if you're watching on Rumble with a Rumble rant. Every penny counts, going towards keeping our operation moving along here. So we would greatly appreciate that. So with that, how's everybody doing? What's new?
Ooh, I'm good. How are you, Abby?
Oh, it's been another action-packed week.
Action-packed, I know. We're all texting each other all week saying, I can't wait till the podcast night so we can talk about all the things that have happened this week.
This is like our coffee clutch.
Yes.
Right?
Right?
Literally tonight.
It
our
is
coffee
tonight.
clutch.
I already drank mine, so I'm a little buzzed from my caffeine high. So, mine's gone.
Yeah, no, it's been crazy. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to take part in Florida CFO Jimmy Patronis IRS
I'm so excited.
roundtable.
Tell us about that.
Yes, tell us.
So I got invited through BREC,
Breck is.
the Broward Republican Executive Committee, of which I am running for chair in the special election.
Woohoo, vote for Abby.
Vote for Abby. And we do have a special episode, bonus episode up, specifically interviewing Abby and chatting all things campaign, which we'll talk about in this episode a little bit too, but some more in detail, which will be posted later tonight. So definitely check that out. Okay,
So, yeah, I got invited. Was it last week or the week before?
So Jimmy Patronis is the CFO.
He is the CFO of Florida. So he oversees the insurance process, which I know is a sticking point with a lot of people right now. But he did say in a little presser before the roundtable yesterday, there are 4 insurance companies that are coming back into the state.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
and they're
huge.
being vetted thoroughly through his office because they are taking on citizens policies. And
as
there
like
was
not as a reinsurance.
well, the same thing happened to me back in 2009 or 10. I think it was 2010 when I lived in my old house in
when
Fort
a lot
Lauderdale.
of them were leaving.
Yeah, because I had a citizens policy for windstorm. I might have had my homeowners through Citizens at that time too. And then there was I can't even remember the name of the insurance company. It was like Homeowner's Choice or something like that. They came in and they were actually cheaper than Citizens was. And so it was like a win-win situation. I got out of Citizens, I got out of the state fund and got into a private insurance policy. So I know there was a news segment on WPTV last night about the property insurance, and this is...
Maybe we can drop that in the chat.
Yeah,
or
I'll drop
like
the link in the chat because I think I still have it up. But I know one woman they interviewed on the news said that another insurer did approach her, but the policy premium was more than Citizens, so why would she leave?
Right.
So...
But that means if they're coming back and there's options at some point, the market has to correct itself.
He also made the comment that Idalia, even though it was very destructive, it really the insurance policies in that area really didn't take a big hit from the destruction. So whether because it was a more rural area that it made landfall, there may have been less property destruction, there may have been more uninsured property, so less payout on the insurance company. So, from a market perspective.
Which, by the way, Idalia, and then we had Ian, Irma.
The
eyes are not.
They need to retire I
think they should retire eye from okay, that was one thing I was thinking about today about hurricanes, and then we'll go back to this. The other thing I noticed, do you know that we're already on O?
Really?
Yes, and we still have 2.5 months of hurricane.
Yeah, but if we can make it through... If we make it through the next month,
October.
I'll feel way better.
Right. But my concern is we only have 11 letters left.
Yeah, but I know they're not using the Greek alphabet anymore. I can't remember what they said they were going to go to after they go through the list.
So they have something they go out to
after? Well, in 2020, we went through the entire alphabet.
Did we really?
And we started going through Greek letters because there was Tropical Storm Eta, ETA, that it made landfall, I think, across the Keys, but I got pretty bad weather at my house.
I remember that. It was late in the year.
It was November.
Yeah.
It was early November because I was on a virtual conference because it was 2020.
Right.
And I was tuning in from home and I was all mad because I lost connection in the morning with Comcast. My Comcast went down and I'm like, what the heck's going on? I'm trying to do this conference.
There was a tropical storm.
There was a tropical storm, but I think the actual reason At the time, I thought it was the storm. A squirrel chewed through my cable wire. Comcast had to come out and
Did you shoot the squirrel?
I didn't see the culprit. He got away. That's just what the Comcast technician told me when he came out to replace the cable the
My
next
gosh.
week. Because it was like intermittent. It didn't completely go out. So he only chewed a little the way through the cable.
Gosh.
Anyways.
That's a
Bloody
likely excuse.
Yeah. Okay. So
Brian
conference.
said, solve all the problems tonight.
Yes, we will do our best, Brian. We're going
Give
to
us
be
a
like
super chat. We'll
give us a
consider
super
it.
chat.
Yeah, we'll only solve all the problems if you give a rumble rant.
Ooh, yeah, Rumble Rant. Exactly. And
okay.
we're gonna be like a 1980s sitcom. We're gonna solve everything in 25 minutes.
He mentioned that on his episode.
That's right. We did talk about that.
Yep.
Maybe
That's
it's
where
like
our
subconsciously subtly planted in my mind.
That's where our instant gratification came from.
Yes.
Yep. So we'll do our best.
So,
With the
okay,
rumble
so
rant.
back to the round table.
Okay.
So, CFO Patronis did one in Orlando like a month or two ago. So this was like the second one in West Palm. And he had it at the Okeechobee Steakhouse, which I don't know if you guys remember. Governor DeSantis had a press conference there in 2020 because the counties were, hem-hawing about reopening. And DeSantis came down and was like, we're reopening. And he did it from Okeechobee Steakhouse.
I do remember that. Yes,
So
I do. And the county was flipping their lids.
Yes. So I got to talk to the owner. He was on the panel with me. They've been there since the 40s.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's
Yep.
third. I think he's third generation in
we
the
should
business.
go there and have a thing.
It's an a la carte menu, just FYI. So be prepared to shell out a few bucks.
A lot
but
of money.
But I mean, you got to
Steakhouse.
support local businesses, especially
Right.
ones that have been there that long.
For that
Right.
long, yeah.
So we were the two. I believe No, there was a third business owner on the panel as well
How did they get your name?
through Breck.
Okay.
Yeah. No, they reached out to the executive director, and she's like, actually, Abby Stafford would be a better fit because she is actually in small business and she is a CPA.
Yeah.
So there was another small business owner who owns a remodeling company, and he sits on the board of the Home Builders Association in the state. So there was 3 of us in small business. There were 3 elected officials on the panel.
Who? I saw Caruso.
John Snyder. He's from the north part of the county and
Okay.
into Martin County.
Oh,
And then
is
count-
he
Yes.
that's him. Okay, he's the guy who came and spoke at the REC meeting that I was pushing back on.
Oh.
That gave us the rah rah sis kumbah
Yeah.
speech that nobody in the room was buying.
What was it about again?
He just gave like a whole speech about all the great things that Tallahassee did. So that he opened it up for questions. People were asking questions about land being sold to China, what was happening with FP&L, why FP&L was going up so much, and then I asked him about the Live Local Act and why it was just as a
That's
socialist
what it was.
setup.
That's
and
what
he
it
did
was.
not like the fact that any of us were asking hard questions. Someone asked, "Where's Governor DeSantis?" Because DeSantis was in Iowa at the time, and he didn't have an answer for anything we asked him. It was
And you
fun.
just got to remember that's not Bo Duke
Yeah.
Who's Bo Duke?
from the
from Dukes of Hazzard?
Oh, does he look
His
like?
name
Does
is
he look-
John Snyder.
Oh.
Okay. All right. So John Snyder, and then I saw Sarah Baxter. Was
Yes.
there? Okay.
Yes. County Commissioner Sarah Baxter.
All right.
And then the president of Kaiser University was the other gentleman on the panel, and then Jimmy Patronis.
And there was a woman on there. I
Oh,
saw,
yes.
the blonde.
What was her name? Shoot. I think it was Lindsay. She's from the James Madison Institute.
I don't know what that is.
So they're how do I describe them? They're kind of like a think tank policy institute where they promote, freedom and, limited government and all of that stuff. So she recently moved to Jacksonville from Michigan. She escaped from.
She's a refugee.
She is a refugee. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
glad she went to the north part of the
Wow.
state.
Fellow
They
Michigan.
have more. They have more. They have more capacity up
Yeah,
there to take
exactly.
the
There's
refugees.
just more space.
Yeah.
We're full. We're full.
We haven't even gotten to snowbird
My poor
season.
Michigan.
I know. I
My
keep
poor
seeing
Michigan.
your Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah. The I keep seeing the transport trucks. More and more transport
Oh,
trucks. They're
yeah.
all back.
Yeah.
And it's very early.
Once you see the Canadian license plates, it's
Oh,
all
it's
over
all over.
for
All
6
over
months.
From there. Yeah.
There's a blinker. You should use it.
I think we need to impose curfew on the snowbirds. You can't be out on the roads during rush hour. That you got to leave that to the locals.
Exactly.
Where
It's
you're trying to get to work. Where are they going?
I see them riding their bikes in the morning when I'm driving to work. Like they're just,
Having a good day,
Ugh.
relaxing. Okay, so let's keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, so the round table.
So the whole the objective of the roundtable is, you know, the IRS has ramped up. There was all that money built in, both the Inflation Reduction Act and I think the Build Back Better, like a bunch of legislation that's gotten passed since Biden took office. You know, 87,000 new IRS agents and just the overreach that comes with that. And so Florida is trying to combat to the extent they can. I mean, there's only so much you can do with the federal government, but to the extent that they can. So Patronis is holding these roundtables, trying to just like, you know, generate awareness about the issue. And there's a hotline that people, or a portal on his website where people can like report if the IRS is harassing them. I mean, Caruso shared this awful story because I didn't realize he's a CPA.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did know that.
He shared a story, and this happened like 20 years ago, where he not inherited a client, but he picked up a client that was under exam by the IRS, a small business owner, that, you know, they were auditing his business, him personally. Like the agents must have been just out for blood, literally, and it was affecting his marriage, like everything. And like the agent showed up at his house when, you know, his wife answered the door. He was not home. Went into his kitchen, started taking the silverware and the china.
What?
And said to the wife, like, good luck eating dinner tonight. Walked out. She called her husband, like, just, you know, ballistic.
Yes.
The husband decides to go to the IRS office. He calls Caruso on the way, says what he's going to do. He's like, well, I'm sorry. Like, I have to let them know you're coming. Please don't go there. Please turn around. Like, this isn't worth it.
Oh my God.
He ended up going to a hotel instead, and he committed suicide. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And he was the first speaker at the round table, and he started off with that story, and I was like, holy moly, like, where do we go from here? I mean, I thought it was bad enough. One of my clients that I actually picked up earlier this year, they're under audit by the IRS for both business and personal, and an agent showed up at their doorstep.
Doing what?
Demanding payment. I mean, IRS is like brutal, but a lot of times there's non-communication that leads up to that.
Right.
And obviously, like, you have to communicate with them. But it is not okay for the IRS to show up on your doorstep. And it's not okay
They're
for them
not
to
a
be
law
vindictive.
agency.
They're not.
They are not a
not.
law agency.
So
Taxes aren't in the Constitution, but that's a whole nother
Taxation
story.
is theft.
it is theft.
100%.
I mean, I've dealt with the IRS for a very long time. And, you know, I haven't done a ton of, like, audits and, you know, I haven't dealt with them. I've responded to notices. I've responded to penalties. I've gotten penalties waived for my clients.
And they get a lot of stuff wrong.
They do. But
they just
if you
assume that
don't
you don't know how to fix
exactly,
it. And so then
exactly.
they make, Tim Pool talks about this. He's
Yeah.
like, they send you a letter saying, oh, you owe us another $150.
Yeah.
You say, oh, okay. Well, I don't have the money to fight, or $1,000. I don't have the
Right.
money to fight it. I guess I'll pay it.
Yeah.
And you probably didn't owe them the $1,000, but if
Right.
they do that with enough people, look at the revenue that they're generating for
Yep.
themselves. They're internal revenue.
Yeah.
Revenue. It's in the
And
word.
so, and that's kind of what I shared.
It's in the name.
That's kind of what I shared when I was asked the question, is like, from a business perspective, like, my dad's companies are S corporations. They're pass-throughs. They don't pay any tax at the corporate level. It passes through to his personal return. But the way that the IRS is starting to, you know, get more and more down on small businesses like pass-throughs is through, like, the Affordable Care Act. And, you know, when Obamacare was passed, there was all this, you know, you have to offer healthcare if you're over 50 employees.
Yep.
And, you know, like, if it's deemed unaffordable, then the employees can go to the marketplace and they get the premium tax credit where it's subsidized. And if the employer is found to be offering insurance that's not affordable to some of its employees, then the employer gets fined.
But what if... What?
Yeah. And there's a whole calculation as to, like, how it's considered affordable or not affordable, and it depends on the employee's wage and, you know, all of this. So we've gotten notices in the past. Like, this is really, I think the penalty started around 2018, maybe 2016. But we've gotten proposed penalties in the tens of thousands of dollars because it's like X amount times the number of employees that were deemed like they weren't offered affordable health care. And, you know, fortunately for us, like, I can decipher IRS language, but we also use Paychex. You know, we use a payroll service that has a whole department.
I'm pretty sure Paychex is like one of the oldest companies. It's an old company.
Probably.
They've been around for a very
They
long
have
time.
been. Yeah. They have a whole department that deals with this because obviously they have probably thousands, tens of thousands of
Accounts,
businesses that
yeah.
they do. And so the first time we actually paid a penalty, was this year, and it was for I think it was for the 2020 tax year. It was one employee, and Paychex
So
reviewed
employees
it.
file and say, I'm not able to, an employee has to start this process, right? Or
So the employee
does
declines.
the IRS look at it?
The employee declines the insurance offered by the company. Then
Okay.
they go out and they get their own marketplace plan. And of course, the premium tax credits through their 1040. Like
Okay.
at the end of the year, when they file their 1040, they get like this is really in the weeds on taxes, but like if you have your insurance through your employer, you get a 1095C.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a marketplace plan, you get a 1095A.
Okay.
And when your tax preparer is preparing your return, they have to take those forms into account. And based on the level of income that you have, if you have a 1095A, it will determine whether or not you were given too much premium tax credit during the year. Because basically, when you go into the marketplace, you tell them how much you think you're going to make for the year, and then they tell you how much subsidy you get. And then you choose the plan, and it's already subsidized, and then you just pay that monthly premium. But then at the end of the year, when you actually report your income for the year, then it has to be trued up. So I've seen tax clients where they've had to pay in through their tax return because they made more money than they thought,
Then they anticipated,
and then
they were
they weren't really entitled to the amount of subsidy that they got on their.
so they owe that money back. What
Yeah.
a complicated mess!
It is. It is.
All
I mean,
all of tax code is a complicated.
It
It's on
really- I mean,
purpose. It's on purpose.
Exactly.
I have a copy of the 2010 Internal Revenue Code and Regulations in my office that I took
How
with
big
me
is it?
when I took with me when I left Deloitte. I was like, let me take the most recent version of the Internal Revenue Code with me.
Is it like this big?
Really,
It's this big.
it's like 7 books. It takes up an entire filing cabinet on my office. It's.
I mean, I don't know why I'm surprised. I am always act so shocked.
I'm trying
but
to
I'm
think
not
if,
really shocked.
I'm trying to think if the code is 2 books and the regulations are like 5 or 7 books, or
Either
vice
way.
versa. But because
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry. I would just okay. So what is IRS doing that Florida is saying no or warning people about, and what's on Jimmy Patronis' website that people can report?
There's a portal where people can report if they're being harassed and abused by the IRS,
Okay.
so they can share their stories. So at least Florida can shed a light on, because you think about it, so many people are migrating to Florida. They're moving to Florida. They're bringing their businesses with them. They're bringing their income and their assets and their wealth with them, and it's a no income tax state, but obviously the IRS is everywhere. Like, you pay federal income taxes, but because we have freedom in Florida, it's like we're under scrutiny at the same time by the deep state and
The peoples.
the peoples. So
The peoples with the lower P, not the capital P. Because
so-
we're the people with the capital P.
yes.
Okay,
So
sorry.
that's like just awareness is the first thing, and then to the extent the state can like fight the agents from actually like coming in, maybe setting up additional offices. I don't know.
And then I heard something on the news report because I saw the link that you sent, which
Yeah.
we should drop down there because Abby's
Oh, yeah.
on the news.
What was the first link I needed to share?
the first
The
link
property insurance.
was-
Both WPTV
Yes.
links.
Okay,
Yeah.
so those
Okay.
WPTV links, and it said that it's also about like the $600.
Oh, yes, which this probably matters to way more of our viewers than the small business, like increased reporting and all that. So it was pushed to 2023. It didn't take effect in 2022 like it was supposed to. But another portion of one of the pieces of Biden legislation was like Venmo and Zelle and PayPal. They dropped their reporting threshold where they have to issue a 1099K to individuals from $20,000 to $600, which is the regular threshold for like regular 1099s.
Is that
So if you think about, like, I'll give you an example. I know someone who their ex pays their child support, through Venmo every month. So you think about child support payments, it's probably going to be more. It should be more than $600 a month,
probably
especially
at
if there's
least
multiple kids involved.
$1,500, $2,000 a month?
Is-
$600?
Is that person who receives the child support, are they going to get a 1099K from Venmo at the end of the year for child support? That's not taxable, but is the IRS going to care?
No.
Yeah.
They're going to look at it
No,
as
'cause
income.
it's just receipt as
Yeah.
money.
So it's $600 a year, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's very low.
That's like, so like if my dad, which we do all the time, like we're going on a family vacation soon and he rented the Airbnb and we pay him the Airbnb, our portion of the Airbnb. And then I also Venmoed my dad like a few days ago, something that I owed that my mom and I, some makeup that we bought. So then that was more, that's $600 in a month.
Right, but technically reimbursable if they can prove that it's a reimbursable.
Yeah, but that means I have to go,
He would have to
prove
that it's a reimbursable
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
if they pick it up.
But won't they automatically now send it if they see transactions higher than $600 for the year? Venmo and PayPal and Zelle?
Yeah.
So they're going to be automatically sending it. So you're going to get it in the mail. And if you don't do the due diligence to show all of the receipts that it's a reimbursement.
Yeah.
Even if it's a birthday
the,
gift.
The onus is on you, the taxpayer, to prove to the IRS that it's not income.
It's kind of like you have to prove you're innocent before you're guilty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it used to be for 1099, like if the minimum threshold you had to report was $10,000 a year, right?
No.
No,
It's always 600.
600?
$600 and
Mm-hmm.
untaxable income is all you're allowed to receive.
This is not good.
No.
This is bad.
No,
This is very bad.
I mean, and two, like you kind of get it, right? Because we have all of these ways to pay each other now. We all of these, like we go out for lunch and somebody picks up the bill and it's like, oh, I'll just give you,
Yeah, instead of having to do math at the table.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I'll give you
know.
$50, whatever.
Right, exactly. And so, but is what was happening is a lot of business owners were paying people out of Zelle or Venmo or whatever else.
And what a record-keeping nightmare that is.
Yes. Have I mentioned lately that I'm so glad I'm not in accounting anymore?
I'm like, I have a few tax clients that they do so many Zelle transactions, and I'm like, please stop. Or I'm going to fire you as a client.
What's better for people to use?
Anything where they can accurately keep track of their records through a QuickBooks or a Wave or something. Just keep good records, please.
Yeah. So if they do a Zelle and then they just do the deduction in QuickBooks.
If they do Zelle, they just need to record it properly as the type of transaction,
Right.
whatever expense, if it's an outflow, like whatever the expensive. If they're receiving income that way, they should also properly track it, to clients or customers or whatever. It's just
Does
there's
this apply to nonprofits too?
probably
I
would
would
accounting is
I would say
accounting.
so.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Money is money.
No, I mean like the following.
Oh, the 1099.
Yeah. Probably not because nonprofits aren't tax deductible, right? Or
They're not taxable as
Right.
long as they follow the rules. I don't know.
So interesting. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, geez, anything else from the roundtable before we go to our next
I think
segment?
those were. There was something else. Shoot, there was something else that I thought of.
Oh, okay. If it pops
Yeah,
in your head,
if
you
it
can
pops back up.
just jump right in. Throw it in. All right, Jessica, what's new?
Well, on Tuesday night, I was elected as the South County Regional Director for the Palm Beach County REC. I was unopposed, and it was a unanimous election. So thank you, everybody, for
Those
your
are the
support.
best kind.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had been a Region 5 director, which was all of basically Boca Raton. And so the REC recently, instead of having 7 separate regions, we merged into 3. So now we have a North, a Central, and a South. So now instead of having I think we had like 40 members in Region 5. So now we have about right around 100 members in South Region.
Okay.
So we had our first meeting on Tuesday, which, where I was elected, but we had 52 people there.
53.
Oh,
was a
53.
great
turnout.
So 53 for our first meeting. So shout out to the Griddle for hosting us. That was
Woohoo.
awesome.
A true patriot.
That's
yes,
right.
Yes,
It is
yes,
amazing.
Yes. And so it was just a great turnout, great energy. And, it's going to be really exciting what we can do in South County. And now we can kind of focus on, too, because of the fact that we've kind of mainly focused in Boca, we can now now kind of focus in Delray and Boynton as well. So, which we share, some congressional seats and things like that. So I think we can actually create a really good action plan to kind of moment us forward into 2024. So I think the party is going to benefit, and I'm excited to lead and come up with some cool ideas, and I can't wait to do Party at the Polls next year.
Oh my gosh, that was so fun. That's going to be a blast.
Which we'll talk more about, but Party at the Polls is just where we just kind of have a little bash as people are heading to the polls, and we have music and fun stuff and inflatables and at the early polling location. Nice. So definitely, if you want to have a fun time, join the Palm Beach County REC South County, because I'm all about having fun and getting work done.
That's right.
So that's really exciting. Another thing is all of the budgets are closing across the cities, so we're keeping kind of a good eye on those.
I will say that Boynton passed their final budget, I believe, and then Delray also passed their final budget.
Yeah.
So Boca's is next week.
Yeah. So as these are closing out, it is a little late in the game now to start nitpicking budgets,
because by state law they have to be closed by the end of September.
Correct.
They have to be submitted to the state.
So your call to your city or your county is kind of, your window has closed at this point.
You can still do it.
You can,
but
I'm just saying,
know
if you want,
have realistic expectations.
Correct. So unless you find something very egregious. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. I shouldn't use big words. So unless you find something that is clearly like a problem and you bring it to a commissioner or city council's, the budget's closed. However, it's a great way to start diving into the budget that is planned. And remember, it's a budget. It's fake money till it's real.
Yep.
So, so it's just a budget. So we can kind of start, diving into all of these budgets and kind of start to nitpick them and things apart.
Yeah.
So if anybody really wants to make a change and reduce their budgets going forward and finding out what the redundancies are, what the fluffs are, what the extra contracts are, extra consultants, all of that kind of stuff, now is the time to get educated on the budget that's already passed, and then start to do your due diligence and work, and then start bringing it to the commissioners and to your city council.
Yeah.
Is like, hey, this is what we're seeing. This is what I found. This is where you can do, and I hate to say it, but like your FOIA requests, all of that kind of stuff, that's when you can really start to kind of see where your money is going, because we have so much money that gets siphoned out. In Palm Beach County alone, I think our budget is $7.7 billion. And so just ad valorem taxes I think it's $1.7 billion. So
23% of the budget.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a very small number that we're actually paying for out of our taxes. And so you have to take into account what all of that other revenue and where it comes from and how it's accumulated through the budget. And so then it's counting on, and then at this time next year, if we're all educated and understanding, we then can make good fiscal changes,
right,
and educate the commission and the staff on things, because you have to also understand Palm Beach County, and I'm sure probably Broward is too, is understaffed. So
man, it sure don't seem that way from the
I
budget.
know. I know.
But, the budget is projected for what they want to spend for employees.
So
that's what's
when
in the budget.
Actuals, they could be understaffed.
So they are understaffed. So they might have the budget. Okay, we have $60,000 for this position,
right?
Budgeted. But they don't actually pay that position because they don't have someone to pay the position.
But
so
they're actively advertising for that position.
Right. But my point isn't saying is it seems like it because the money is there to pay a full staff, but it's not. It's just not being spent to pay the full staff.
Right. So. And that's where I think a lot of people get a little confused, is that a budget is just a projection. It is not actual dollars spent until it's finalized.
And that's why you have to look at the comprehensive annual financial report.
Yes.
Which typically they finish, I know like in Lighthouse Point, they present that mid-spring, late spring.
Probably when they're having a lot of their, like, I know like Boca has their plan, what's it called? Strategy planning meetings where they look at all of the things that have happened And I think that's where they
Yeah.
present that kind of stuff. I mean, Brian can correct me if I'm wrong for Boca, but I think that's where that sounds about right.
Yeah. So again, I just want to point out, like this is a good opportunity to start looking at those projections and bringing things to attention that may be a little off or a little confusing or that you want clarity on, and then you can ask for your FOIA requests and basically get the information to make sure, because as you step into things, as you look at things, it's like, we did the math on something the other day. It was like $10 million for
Homeless.
Homeless.
The 3 contracts for homeless shelters.
Right.
In Boca?
No.
Palm Beach.
Palm Beach County. And so then it's like, but if you figured out how many people they had, it was $22 a day, basically, per person, per homeless person. So it's like, yes, it's a huge number, but yet when it comes down to it, like $20 for a homeless person to be able to have shelter and food, it's
just really sad that there's that many homeless people in our community,
in our very wealthy community.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, and that's the thing. And so
go
So I
ahead.
was going to say, so like if you are someone who wants to look into things and research things, there is a whole host of options to do that. Not just the budgets, but you can take a county or a city. I have an agenda here for the city of Boca, and there are on the consent agenda. There is, we're authorizing this amount of money for this contract and this bid, and this is a sealed bid, $8.4 million for Florida design contractors for nanofiltration unit and deglassifier upgrades. So my point, like in saying that is to look at what these companies are, and then also looking at what a lot of the nonprofits that we donate to. So I know I was at several city council and commission meetings in the last couple of weeks, and all of them have nonprofit lists that each of the city commissioners or council members submit that they want the city's donation money, which is your tax dollars, to go towards XYZ nonprofits. And those are the ones that are on the approved city list to donate to them. We don't know. I don't know.
I would prefer to make those donations
myself with my money. I'd prefer to get more of my tax dollars back and make the donations of myself. So so if someone wants to look into something, you can get, those are all public records. Find out who they are. Find out who the CEO is. Find out what their operating budget is. Is the CEO making a 6-figure salary, and how many people are they actually helping, or animals, or whatever it may be?
Oh shoot, what's the name of that? There's a website where you can look up nonprofits and their filings.
Ooh.
GuideStar?
I've never heard of this.
Hold on. I think it's GuideStar.
You're right, there is.
And you can look, I mean, they're required.
They have to give financials.
Right. So my point in saying that is when not just nonprofits that are on the nonprofit list, but even like we said with the homeless situation, the homeless contracts, taking the time to see, okay, who runs these up? What's the one that you mentioned that was like, it was a couple weeks ago in the budget.
Ryan White Foundation.
The Ryan White Foundation.
Oh, Ryan White was the kid that died of AIDS.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, foundations might be doing great work, but we need to know that. It'd be good for us to know how much are they actually helping people? What amount of money, again, what are their operating costs? What are the C-level people making in the organization? Because those are our tax dollars. And if we don't look into those things, and by we I mean you helping us, because we at this table are very busy.
Well,
but
I'm gonna kind of go off the chain here for a second, but
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna bring it back.
Sorry, Stu, that was loud.
There's a Ukrainian company called Heart of Love.
I thought you were going to say Burisma.
No. There's a Ukrainian company called Heart of Love. Well, coming to find out, there's things coming out that they're actually child and organ harvesting. But it sounds so good. Heart of Love, right?
Yeah, until you actually think about what they're harvesting.
Exactly. So many, and I'm just using that as an example because it's so extreme.
Yeah.
Is the fact that, it sounds good. They have a good website.
And some of them might be great.
Many of them are.
Yeah.
I mean, we go to great foundations and great, nonprofits that do really good work and that are literally struggling and paint's peeling off the walls and they are using every dime in order to help the people that they are saying that they are meant to help. So there are really good organizations out there, but it's also, there's some that get kind of pushed through,
and they get these big monies, and then it's very hard for a county commissioner or a city council member to then say, hey, I have a question about this, because I don't know, because then all of a sudden the headlines is county commissioner or city council members defunding the homeless or defunding this. But if we can come to that person, that council member or that commissioner, and say, hey, this is what we found, they can say, oh, okay, so I think we should look into this because here are my receipts.
And then that's when we have the inspector general.
Exactly. And so there's a process. But we need help to do that. So just speaking for Jessica and I, we're both staff for Commissioner Woodward. Commissioner Woodward has a very, very extensive schedule, which we will get to hear about when she comes on our episode in November. So mark your calendars. And there's just not enough time for that to happen from there. It has to come from you all, from residents, from citizens who are concerned about what's happening with their money. And so when that comes to us, we can get it to the commissioner, we can get it to other commissioners, city council members, and then we can actually start to see where we can peel back some of these things. So I think one of the whole points of us being in government and being in what we're doing is to be able to peel that back and say, okay, here we go. Let's dig in.
This all went off the rails a long time because it's like,
yes, this is a very big apparatus.
Right. And just because we were talking about homeless, I'll stick with it there. How much federal money goes to homelessness?
Yeah.
How much state money goes to homelessness? How much county money goes to homelessness? How much city money goes to homelessness? But there's still homeless on the corner that are asking for the $20. You know, there comes a point where we have to go, what is our responsibility to help those in need, and to how many people who make themselves in need because they don't want the help, but they want what we are offering.
And then we still keep throwing dollars at it from our tax dollars. So if I want to go, I don't have the money now, like in theory, to go to the guy on the street corner and give him the $20 where I know he will actually go buy food with it, versus giving it, it's because it's coming out of my pocket to go to who knows what type of organization.
And then even to make it worse, when you are a large funded county like Palm Beach, we do live in paradise. We do have a lot of money here. That's for sure. So it's like, if you're getting federal, state, local money for homelessness, and then it's like it almost attracts them here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, I remember when I lived in the city of Fort Lauderdale, we had a police officer, a city of Fort Lauderdale cop, come to one of our civic association meetings. Fort Lauderdale has a ton of civic associations, which are way better than HOAs. But he said that in the Northeast, cops in the Northeast would literally put their homeless, they would buy them a bus ticket one way to Florida to make them not their problem, in the winter, and they would never come back. So
sounds about right.
We are inheriting the homeless problem from other parts of the country in addition to our own homeless problem. And it has always been that way because we have good weather down here.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's nice and warm.
Right. And we're very charitable.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's the thing. Like, we don't want anybody to suffer. Nobody wants anybody to suffer. Nobody wants anybody to be in homelessness. But sometimes it is a choice.
It is.
And so it's like, at what point does our responsibility end and their personal responsibility begin?
And at what point does our tax dollars, at what point do we say we don't have the money?
Yeah. So
we
it's
don't
like,
have the funding. We can't just keep
your
throwing
money is going to homelessness that isn't going to your electric bill, that it's not going to your personal needs, that if you were given a choice, you may not donate to that at this time because you need to take care of yourself, where it's kind of getting extracted from you.
Taxation is theft. It's the bottom line.
I was going to say, you could almost say the same thing that you're saying about homelessness, about continuing to throw money at it, to the public school system.
Oh gosh. Yeah. We're going to talk about that in our next episode, right?
Yeah.
The public school system.
Yes, we are.
October 17th, not our next episode. 19th. October 19th. Thank you. We will have a school board member from Broward County on, and we will discuss all things school board and budgets and all kinds of stuff. Sorry, that's a little highlight there. But I want to do a little bit of a hard segue turn, unless we have anything else on this.
No.
Any comments or anything? So a big thing that came up this week that is going to be, that I heard just somebody at the gym talking about, is the GL home swap. Dun, 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 dun. Can we get a sound effect on that? Ooh, okay. So this is the Ag Reserve, which I'm sure many of you know about. I'll give a brief. It's a very complicated issue.
Brief description for the Broward people.
We'll give a brief
listening.
description. Okay, so about in 1999, right? It was 99,
Class of
2000,
99.
somewhere around there. So about 24 years ago, Palm Beach County voters voted on a referendum to tax ourselves $100 million to put in a bond to preserve land and create our tiered growth system a little bit stronger, give the what's called the agricultural reserve a stronger protection. And it's supposed to be in perpetuity. I love that word. It's such a fun word to say, perpetuity. It's supposed to be in perpetuity. Chime in if I miss anything. Okay.
I'm listening.
Okay. It's supposed to be in perpetuity. And so what the county could not afford to continue to purchase the land at market value because the developers could buy it. So they created a rule.
Just on that, county cannot pay more than appraised value
Yes.
for property.
Yes.
So if anybody comes in like a developer and offers a premium or above appraised value, it takes the county out of the bidding process. They cannot.
So
go
because
forward.
that was happening, they created a system where for every 40 acres that a developer developed, they had to put 60 acres of the property into ag reserve to not be touched, to be preserved. And so this is a strip of land west of 441 between there and the Everglades. So it's supposed to create a buffer of protected land between civilization and the Everglades, to protect the Everglades as well as to keep green space in our county, so that we don't, they foresaw that Palm Beach County was growing and was going to grow exponentially, and we would need to have protected green space for farmland. Palm Beach County is the biggest agricultural producer east of the Mississippi, so protecting that, think about it, we could feed ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, no. I mean,
like easily.
My family's business has been out in Belglade since the early 80s, and we do business with so many of the farmers out there.
Yeah.
The sugarcane farmers and the crop
Bell
farmers.
pepper farmers,
Yeah.
Tons of crops. Corn, sweet corn, it's a huge thing.
Florida can sustain itself with the food that it grows here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we could even do more. There's more that
Yeah.
could be done. So this, so we've reached the point now, 20-something years later, where there is no more land that the developers can develop that is not in preserved land. So they created about 5 or 6 years ago, they created this scheme to take land that they owned that was developable up in the north part of the county and say, okay, well, we'll put that in reserve and swap it if we get to develop the land south part of the county that is a lot more lucrative. So they bought the land up north. They got the permits and everything to build. They chose not to build because it's not as lucrative. So they made a bad business deal, and now they want the taxpayers here in Palm Beach County to pay for it.
Basically, South County took off exponentially.
Yeah.
So they purchased in both the North and the South County, and then they waited and sat on that until they figured out which was going to be the more lucrative development. And so is what has happened is they went for the approval in North County first. They got that. They're approved to be able to build.
Yep.
But South County, and this is just an example. So South County and the homes that they're projecting that they want to build on ag reserve is $1.2 million homes.
Wow.
It's going to be $1 billion in revenue for that.
Yeah.
Right. Where North County, the most that they could probably build and get for a home, about $500,000.
And I watched part of that commission meeting when they were discussing that. Was it back in May?
Yeah.
Remind me again exactly where the land is in the North County. Is it like Loxahatchee?
No.
It's like Indian Trails.
I don't know. It's all fuzzy
Oh,
up there.
I just saw it today. Indian. It's an acronym. It's like ITID or something.
I don't know where that is.
Indian Trails.
It's up there.
Yeah. So
Way up yonder.
Way up yonder. I've never
Man, I should have took a picture of the map. I even said, I'm like, this map is awesome. I need to take a picture of it.
Give me some of the roads near there.
60th. It's north of 60th.
Okay, which is Riviera Beach is 45th Street.
Yeah, so it's like this is way north.
It's up there.
Yeah, so this is way north. And it is way west of State Road 7.
Okay.
So
so it's like you're on your way to Lion Country Safari.
it's north. It's
north of there, but
it's northwest of there.
Yeah. Oh wow.
It is. It is
up there.
very
How far
northwest
from
of-
like Pahokee is it?
Oh, I don't know. I couldn't
Probably
tell you.
it's closer to Pahokee than it is to anything.
Yeah.
Probably.
So Westgate. Are you familiar with Westgate?
No.
Okay, so that's a small town that got incorporated. So it's its own little separate taxing district or whatever. And so it's just northwest of Westgate.
Ooh.
And Westgate has really been exploded with a lot of development.
We just received our first $20 Rumble Rant from Brian Stenberg.
Thank you, Brian.
He
oh,
wanted.
crap. Now we got to solve all the problems.
He said lots of the farmers who were farming in the ag reserve don't farm anymore.
I believe they were paid not to farm.
I would not be surprised if that's the case.
And that's what caused the run on the land was because it was more. They saw the opportunity as they, like business people would, is it's like, oh, I can get this money to not farm my land and then I can sell it at a premium.
Yeah.
I win all over the place because
Right.
then I can move somewhere east and have a great, nice life. And whatever happens to this happens to
happens
this.
to the land. So there was a vote that was put forward. So here's the thing. If this land swap happens, just to kind of give everyone some perspective, it will open the door for development in the ag reserve up the wazoo. Because how
It
can
sets
they?
precedent.
It sets precedent. Because how can the county commission say no to another developer when they have already opened the door for development in the reserve?
And is GL Homes, they're the ones that built all those neighborhoods along Lyons Road?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The line
That's what I-
between Lyons and 441. So
Yeah.
7 bridges and
All those really, really nice developments.
yes, which
Yeah.
actually they had a
Multi-million dollar
multi-million, but they got
properties.
sued for shoddy construction, and they just settled not
Chinese
too long
drywall?
ago, something like that. They settled not too long ago, and they're supposed to be fixing things in some of these developments
Yeah.
because they got sued.
So is what we're doing is we're taking away our future food production for
green
development,
space production,
and they're
all the green space
using housing needs. It's almost like there's this forced market for like we need housing so that they can come in and solve the problem.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
$1.5 million houses that are for
1.2.
1.2. I'm sorry. Base price 1.2.
Plus,
So
plus. Yeah.
And they are 55 and over, which is not needed out there. So they're using the 55. This is another fun thing that they're doing. They're using that thing 55 and over because when that happens, so when a developer is going in to develop, they have to do traffic studies and school studies and impact studies on all of the different areas.
All of the county departments have to weigh in and
Exactly.
make sure that
it's legal and follows all of the.
it's compatible to the development.
Right. So if they are doing a 55 and older community, then they have less of a threshold that they have to meet because no schools, traffic, there's less trips because they're not people going to work because these are retirees in theory or soon to be retired.
Except under the Biden economy, they got to keep working.
Right, except for they're all working, exactly. So not if
The
they're
increase
buying
of jobs was everybody getting a
My
second
mother's
job.
still working. and
Not
she's
if they're buying-
87.
Wow.
not if they're buying $1.2 million houses. But
Yeah.
So, but who knows how long? I mean, 55 and over communities convert to full families all the time. So how easy would that be to happen? So it's and then they're also, as Commissioner has said, they're sweetening the deal. So they've got the Jewish community who needs land because the Jewish community, so Boca Raton is the fastest growing Orthodox community destination in the world. I guess
Right.
outside of Israel. I've heard it's even beating Israel.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true, but outside of Israel for sure. And they
I blame
need,
Ben Shapiro.
well, the truth be told, the Orthodox community is very conservative. They don't
Yes.
like being told what to do by
Right.
government.
Yeah.
And so they were like, hey, Florida's not telling people what to do. We'll go to Florida. So they're here and they need land for schools. They need land for
Shabbat.
They need to be able to walk to their synagogues and things like that. So so GL Homes went to the Jewish community. Now, mind you, fun fact, the Jewish community has been asking GL Homes to sell them parcels of land
They
because
wanted to buy it.
buy it, spend premium dollars to buy, not a lot, 10 acres, nothing crazy, and the land so with Ag Reserve, there is development allowed on that type of land. It is very limited though. It is things, school can be put there, like some commerce can be put, but it's very limited. It's not like these big lots that are going to have yards and pesticides and all these things that then run off to the Everglades. It's very limited. So it would have worked, but GL refused to sell them the land because they were looking at this. And now GL is gifting them the land and saying, oh, we'll give you the 10 acres or whatever it is that for your school for this. So now you have the Jewish community who is advocating for this because they need the land. But GL Homes is playing dirty with this by not selling them the land. And then they're acting all benevolent, like, look what we're doing for you. We're going to go donate a $50 million acre park.
And it's putting the Jewish community in a tough spot because of the fact they need the land.
Right.
Because they are so, like they're outgrowing the space that they have. And so we understand the need and and they're exploiting that.
They're exploiting it. That's exactly the
GL
word.
is exploiting their need and then telling the county commission, you have to change the rules for us so that we can give the synagogue or the Jewish
So look how
community-
benevolent you can be by helping us be benevolent to the Jewish community that we refused to help for the last 5 years because they wanted this. Not only that, they want to do so some of the other sweeteners that they've put into this deal is a park, which, by the way, they won't pay for or build. They're just going to donate the land to the park. So then the county has to pay for and build and maintain another. So it's going to cost us money for this park. They are going to put in a water treatment facility up in the north part of the county, saying that it's going to help solve water problems that don't really exist because water is its own whole. I mean, we could have a whole episode on water, but
and there's a parcel of land next to it that needs to be used for drainage from off of the Indian Trails district.
so they're telling Indian Trails that we'll give them or
No. Actually, they're denying it and saying we don't have the money to be able to do that.
billions
for you.
of dollars is what they're going to make, and they won't give a drainage ditch.
Yep, pretty much. And so it's like, well, we can't do that. And then, the Indian Trails district it needs that, So it's like GL, which they can also, this is where GL can build the homes. They're supposed to improve the roads and things of that nature. But if they don't build up there, they don't have to. And so it's very sneaky and it's very, there's so many, it's a tangled web that they have woven around this project because it's like they literally are trying to like pick and choose and say like, oh yeah, we can't do that, but we can do this over here. And it's kind of like a bait and switch.
It's so bad.
And in all reality is that they made the wrong business decision by focusing on North County and getting the approvals and all of that for North County. And so because of that, it's almost like a government bailout now, is that it's like, okay, because now you can only, build homes up here that are like $500,000. You want us to do you a solid and make it so that you can, build $1.2
and go
million.
against what the taxpayers, so the taxpayers and the voters in Palm Beach County voted for 20-something years ago. And the interesting thing was is at the May meeting, the thing that at the May meeting, there were the only people really who supported this of the public, because there was public comment for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of public comment, as there should be. This is a very big deal. But the thing that was incredibly frustrating was the only people who supported it were, unfortunately, the Jewish community, and a lot of them have even said, they're like, we're not a fan of how this is going down, but we need the land, so we'll take it. So please vote for it. But the people who came in and said that they supported it, a lot of them are people who have moved here in the last 2 years. They don't know the culture of our community. They want South Florida to look like New York. And
the thing is about the South County aspects is that there's not a lot of stuff. There's not like car washes. There's not amenities.
There's not a lot of grocery stores.
Right. So it's like it is a rural area that you do have to drive a couple minutes in order to get things.
To go to a park.
Yeah. Like your doctor's office is probably on the east side. Like that's just the way that it is. And it was set up that way on purpose is because the people that chose to live there and to build their homes there, and most of them are GL communities.
A lot of them are. They want to live out there.
Yeah. And so it's like, but we moved out here because of the way that they wanted to live their life, which was quiet and not downtown. So it's like they want to create, it's almost like being forced to create another downtown is what's going to end up happening by having these transplants here that are like, well, we want the stuff.
Right. So this one man stands up, and I understand. I have little kids. We love playgrounds. This is what he says. We moved here a couple years ago. We love our neighborhood. We love our schools. We love our things. We love all these things, but we don't have a park nearby. And we would love to have a park. And I always look at the farmland that we drive by, and I think that would be a great place for a park. And if this gentleman is listening, I respect your opinion. However, do you understand that when we get rid of the food sources, those farms, that will impact us down the road? So paving paradise to put up a parking lot. I mean, that's literally what's going on. And it's so short-sighted that at the state of the world that we're in, with food costs rising, so many things, and just how
how much of our federal government is outsourcing our necessities,
Right.
Yeah.
such as food and energy and things of that nature. So if we get into a situation where it's like, if Florida has to self-sustain because something happens somewhere else in the
Yeah.
other area,
They're gonna want the
of
farmland.
the nation. And I'm sorry, when we have, tens of millions of people coming over the border that we have no idea who they are. 9/11 happened with 19 people. So it's like, just kind of think about that for a second. And that could happen anywhere in our country right now. That is a real possibility. And I don't want to strike fear into anybody.
we're not fear-mongering.
By any means. But it's like, we have to protect ourselves.
Our national infrastructure is so delicate. Like something
Exactly.
goes wrong, a train derails, and we don't get food.
Yeah,
We're
right.
not getting the trucks brought into
And-
us. I mean,
and
look
the
what happened when
people-
we ran out of gas for like a hot minute.
Or
like,
even like during in the early COVID when
Yes.
like all the meat plant, the processing plants and stuff, like
Yes.
people were getting, they were having to shut
They
down
were
because
shutting
too
down
many people had
processing
COVID.
plants.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like,
there was like meat shortages.
And
Yeah.
it's like, we can get people stuff without having to build more homes.
Yeah.
Like the more homes doesn't solve the problem of the more stuff either. So it's like there's ways, and people bought this to never have anything built on this.
It's when you
Ever.
tell the taxpayers, when you tell people this is the zone, this is how it goes, and then they change their minds, county commissioners, people are going to lose faith in your ability to understand what the people
So
want
there
and what
are-
the people need.
yeah.
There are 5 county
And that you're going to do what you say you're
commissioners
going to do.
that
Sorry.
are willing to go against the will of the people right now. They are willing to vote yes for this, and going against the people that paid their hard-earned money in taxes to preserve this land. So what the heck is going on, and why is that even a possibility or a thought process?
This should have been shut down the moment it came forward.
Immediately. Because okay, so who's more important here, GL or the people?
Yeah.
Well, GL cuts big checks for re-elections.
Educate
Yep.
me,
Yes.
a lowly Broward County resident. So they had the vote in May where it was 5-2, correct? What's the
So
status
it
of
was
the process
voted
now?
to go to transmittal. So it has to go to the state.
Okay.
So it gets transmitted to the state, and then it gets passed back down for a final vote.
So what does the
But
state
we
do?
have that I'm not sure of.
That's a good question. We'll ask Mercy that when she comes in November.
But the county has to change ordinances in order to allow this to happen.
Which would require at least 2 meetings to change an ordinance?
Not necessarily.
No?
well, this is the this is the
Does it-
second one, I believe.
2 readings. I don't think there's not first readings and second readings as much in the county as it is
No?
in cities.
As cities? Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
Yeah, so they did their conditional approval to be able to
May.
send it to transmittal.
Okay.
So now they basically have to change the rules for GL to be able to
So
do
they
this.
haven't changed the ordinance yet.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It
So
hasn't
in
changed
order
the comp
for
plan.
this
So it's
to-
coming back at a comp plan meeting.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's it. And so then it's like, so in this meeting is that they are basically asking the commission to change the rules for them.
And has that meeting been agended yet?
It has not had an agenda, but it is on the calendar. It is October 24th.
Okay, so
Yes.
about a
So
month away.
About a month away. So
Yes.
mark your calendar.
So that's why they're starting to talk about it again. That's why it was in the news this week and all of that.
Yes.
Because now it came back
Yes.
from the state and it's back on the it's
Because-
on the agenda.
Ah,
Because
okay.
you have several coalitions that are in the area, like Delray Alliance, and you have Cobra, and
Right.
you have these groups that are very advocately against, action oriented against this,
Okay.
and so they're stirring up a lot of news.
Okay.
Yeah.
And basically like, no, we did this. We lived out here for our quality of life. We love where we live. We love how it is. We don't mind driving to things. And this is just the way that it is. And don't do this. And so there's a huge call of action to the 5 county commissioners that voted yes for this and originally. So Commissioner Marcy Woodward voted no, and Commissioner Maria Sachs voted no.
Which, by the way, it impacts their districts the most.
correct.
Right.
So
yeah,
you-
South County.
Right. So traditionally on the county commission, not every meeting, but traditionally there is some respect for the opinions of the people
Being impacted the
being
most.
impacted the most, and they blatantly did not do that.
And basically,
Makes me so
GL
mad.
gave the sweeteners to the other county districts.
So,
Of course
so
they
the
did.
other districts that they're doing the
course
swap
they did.
for, they're getting the water treatment facility. They are getting an ATV park. They're getting some affordable housing built up there. They're getting, they're getting a few things. So, and here's another. This just grinds my gears too.
Just really chaps mine.
So Commissioner Sachs made this point, and I've never agreed with a Democrat more, and I don't care if you take my Republican card for this. It was a very, very correct point that she made. She said that, so in this sweetening deal that GL Homes is bringing for the South County is they're also going to build X amount, I can't remember the number, of affordable houses.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah, I remember
but
that.
where they're building the affordable houses is next to, so there's land that they want abuts to a horse farm, a horse facility, and they are going to build the affordable houses right next to the horse stables, and the people who live in the affordable housing are not going to have the same access to the development as the people who live in the $1.5 million houses. They get back-end access to their apartments, which are next to the horse facilities. So literal servants' quarters.
Oh my gosh.
Like
Obvious.
servants' quarters. And when Commissioner Sachs said that, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So if you get into workforce housing, you get there. You get to live by the stables. You get to live by the smelly poop, and you have to drive through all of that to get to it. You don't get to drive through.
You have
the
to
pretty.
drive through $1.2 million homes.
No, you get to drive. You're
Oh,
not allowed to drive
that's
through
right.
them.
You're
you
not
have to drive
allowed
around.
Yes,
them. You don't get
you
to
get
drive
a separate
through them.
entrance.
It's
You
the
get
servants'
a separate,
entrance.
Yeah, you get
Workforce
a separate entrance.
housing.
I forgot about that. You're absolutely right.
And it's and they're all like, yeah, okay, sounds good. Vote for it. Nobody said anything when she said that. No one said like, oh my gosh, that's a good point. Let's make them change that. Nobody said anything about that. They just were like, okay, let's vote.
well, it's less. It's less. So
This is what we want.
it's GL. It's their land. They can do it how they
They can do whatever they want.
But it's not their land yet.
Well,
It
if
technically no. So it's so that this all this to say. Does anybody have if anyone has any questions or anything they'd like to add to what we've been discussing for GL Homes, please drop it in the chat.
Yes.
This is a very complicated situation, and it is affecting a lot of people. And a lot of people ask, okay, like I live east, Jessica, we all live east, so it technically does not affect our daily lives the same way it does people who live out west.
Right.
But the problem is it does affect the future for our generations and our
Yes.
children, because it sets it, like we said before, it sets the precedent. It sets the tone that the county commission does not care about the history and the fabric of the county.
Yeah.
And the legacy that they're going to be leaving behind, that we will then end up leaving behind for the future of our families and the future of our communities. And if they're not going to honor and respect that, then who is? As the people who are sworn to uphold that in the county, who's going to respect that and honor it? Then it's just going to be a free-for-all. We're going to have people coming in saying that they want downtown West Palm Beach to be like
so just
Wall Street.
Just 20 years ago, they saw this and they wanted to protect it, and it's not even lasting a generation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
It's supposed to be in perpetuity.
Yeah. So
we
it's
do have a comment from
Ooh,
Brian
oh,
again.
yes, Brian.
He said developers have the opportunity to pay to locate affordable housing somewhere other than the high dollar development they're getting approved.
that's true.
That's true, too.
They have to pay for it though, right?
I think they have to build more. I think it changes density.
Okay.
They, yeah,
Don't quote me on that.
they are, and I believe that that's the way it should be, because it's like you want to be in like-minded communities, and you want to be able to, you know, like if you're less in income, you don't necessarily want to rub elbows with $1 million.
Well, not
you know,
only that,
homeowners
but
and
like there's
things of that
nothing out
nature.
there,
So,
and they're gonna have to drive to go to work for
their
everywhere.
Their expenses are more and things of that.
Yeah,
nature.
it kind of seems like it's in direct
Opposition.
opposition to the Live Local Act.
Kind of.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, because I mean, and the Live Local Act is a whole nother issue
Yeah.
but it's like we have this housing crisis, and it's almost like well, we can solve it, but at
Let's
what
build
cost?
1.55. It's going to be 5. By the time they build the houses, they will be $1.5 million houses. I guarantee you. But they won't build the houses because we're not going to pass this.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
And so there's no way of being able to really get the commissioners to really understand this without actually saying and emailing and calling them
Yes.
and saying, please say no. And I'm asking very nicely, be respectful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, say
There's a way to get your point across
Yes.
without yelling and screaming.
say, Commissioner, please respect the original vote of the reserved land and say no to GL, and we will thank you for it. And thank you for your service and your time. Because we're going to get way more better results if we are respectful and understanding that this is on their shoulders. This is a heavy weight. They're being torn. I don't necessarily agree that they're not doing it for some type of gain, because it feels obvious that they
Well,
are.
all 5 of the people who voted yes are going to be on the ballot in the next 2 years or the next 3 years. None of them are termed out of offices. They are termed out of some of them are termed out of the county commission, but both of the 2 that are termed out of the county commission are planning to run for different offices in the area, so they are still fundraising. So obviously we can't say that they're being bribed, because that is an accusation. However, just putting out there that all of the ones are running for some type of office who are who voted yes, and I think that's an interesting point.
Or have to be able to get back into office.
Or
because-
they're running for office. They're
Yep.
running for either re-election or they're running for other offices in the
Correct.
state.
Brian also added, don't type in all caps. And I said, why are you yelling at me, Brian?
Yes, don't type in all caps. We will drop the email address that goes to all of the county commissioners, and the chat will give it to you.
Okay.
We'll text it to Abby. She'll drop it in the chat.
What was it?
October 24th.
October 24th. You can speak on the agenda item regarding this and show up. Show up. Be respectful. We're not yelling and screaming. We're saying just honor the commitment that the residents have made and invested in Palm Beach County. It's an easy ask. It makes sense. There is absolutely no reason why we have to do this.
No, it is not going to solve any housing crisis
it is to
at all.
make GL be a more profitable company.
It's to make them billions of dollars. That's literally what it is. It's to make a corporation a lot of money. And I would say this too. Tell your family and friends, look, this is an issue that can bring us all together. If you have a family member or a friend who is incredibly environmentally conscious, and that you guys probably fight about climate change and all that kind of stuff, but here's an opportunity that you can say, look, I care about my earth too. I care about, God gave us this earth. He gave us dominion over it, and he told us to take care of it.
Good stewardship.
We have to be good stewards of it. And so it's an opportunity to talk to your family and your friends about an issue that could bring us all together, and they can realize that, oh, we're not these crazy psychopath like Republicans who are like burn it to the ground or whatever they think that we think.
Hopefully they didn't listen to our trash episode.
Yeah. Well, we do burn the trash, baby. I'm not going to say what I want to say. So get the mute button ready. No, I'm just kidding. And so you never know. Like, I was at the gym today, and it was a fluky thing because I usually wear headphones, and my headphones died, and so I had to take them off and finish my workout with no headphones on. And no, it's rough. And they had the music turned really low for some reason, so I couldn't even hear like the gym music. I was like, I need a rhythm. Anyway, so all of a sudden I hear from like across the gym, GL Homes, blah, 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 blah. I hear Ag Reserve, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're talking about the Ag Reserve. So I just walk over. I'm like, excuse me, are you guys talking about the Ag Reserve? And they're like, yes. So I started chatting with them, and I told them kind of, who I was. And they were like, this is terrible. One of the gentlemen has lived in Palm Beach County, lived in Boca area his family has lived here for over 100 years.
Wow.
I know. And he's like, this is terrible. He's like, you can't tell people you're not going to build and then build. Like, this is not how this works. And I said, tell your family and friends, tell everybody, because we still have an opportunity to stop this. So
there was a promise made, and 5 board of county commissioners don't think that they have to honor that promise.
Yes. And there's something wrong with that, because that is not what they were elected to do. They are elected to be a little stitch in the fabric of this community, not to take
uphold what the people want,
not to take scissors and just cut the fabric, and that's what they're doing. Yeah. So get out there, tell your family and friends. We'll drop the email in the thing. Mark your calendars. It's going to be a spicy meeting with a lot of people.
And be sure to thank Commissioner Woodward and thank Commissioner Sachs for their no vote and standing strong. So we need to call balls and strikes, and we need to make sure that we are we have the back of the commissioners that support us,
Mhm.
and that we hold the feet to the fire of the ones that aren't making good decisions right now, and just let them know that you're not making a good decision and it's time to correct.
You're making poor life
Making
choices.
poor life choices.
You need to rethink your
You
decisions.
need to go in timeout. We'll put you in timeout over here to rethink it. And I
I'll
wanna-
put them in timeout,
and I
all right.
wanna put it, and I do want to give an extra shout out to Commissioner Sachs, who is also facing a re-election campaign,
Mhm.
and I'm sure that she had her pot sweetened by
Or they tried.
they wanted to try to do that, and I want to commend her because that is not an easy thing to say no to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
we've run campaigns, we've all run campaigns, and when that money comes in, it makes things a heck of a lot easier.
Yep.
Yep.
And she says no, and she was at we were attended a Cobra meeting the other day, and she was there for the whole meeting. She was like very strong, and I just want to commend her for standing firm in that because it's not an easy thing to do.
Yep.
So, perfect example. You have a Republican with Woodward, and you have a Democrat with Sachs, and they are united on this, and they feel very similarly because of the way that it affects the land here in Florida, and what we're all here for is to make sure that we sustain our life as long as possible, and by not doing this, it gives us an opportunity to actually push forward and create a bright future for ourselves.
Exactly. So, yeah, if anyone has any questions, drop them in. When is our next episode? I'm sorry. It is October 6th, right?
Thursday, October 6th.
Thursday,
First
October
Thursday
6th.
of the month.
And
First
so we
third.
will be back live at 7:15.
Yeah, well, back to our
normal hour. So
Yep.
we apologize for the change in hour. We are a little bit at the mercy of the studio. So if you'd like to help us grow and expand, you can definitely donate and help us to secure our spots. So mark your calendars for that, and then
school
else?
board member Tori
Yes.
Alston on October 19th.
October
I'm really
19th.
excited to welcome him to the show. He's
Yes.
a really
I'm
awesome
so
human
excited. I
being.
have so many questions.
He was appointed to Broward County Commission.
Uh-huh.
He was appointed to the school board. He served on the Department of Transportation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, before he was appointed to the county commission, he served on the Department of
Oh,
Transportation.
I can't wait.
So he has
nice.
and he's a businessman, and
So get your questions ready,
yeah,
and definitely
Yep.
we'll drop them in the chat that night.
Yep.
And you can submit your questions to us through all of our contact info too. If you have questions, if you're not going to be able to for some reason watch that night, you will have a question that you want us to ask him. We can submit it to the email address. You want to give that info, Jessica?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to make sure that you like, share, and subscribe on all platforms. That's
Please.
definitely helpful. Anything that you enjoyed tonight, make sure that you share, tag, all of that kind of good stuff. I want to make sure that we're thanking R30 Agency for sponsoring our show tonight. As always, R30 Agency. Be sure to email us at wethelocalsfl@gmail.com if you're interested in sponsorship or just want to give us some additional information. We'd love to hear from you. Check out our website, wethelocalspodcast.com. Make sure most of our videos and stuff are up there, links, all of the information regarding our sponsorships as well. So
Subscribe to our emails.
and subscribe to the email list. So we will be sending out reminders the week of our podcast, reminding you that we're going to air, and then hopefully, and also sending you out reminders just before we go live.
Yep.
So that way you'll have all, if you should get a Rumble notification, a YouTube notification, and a We the Locals podcast
And if you follow us on
notification.
social media, you'll get those notifications that we've made posts.
Yeah. So it's very important. We talk about a lot of local issues, and the more we get people educated and understanding what's going on in Palm Beach County and Broward County
Yep.
is when we get to make a real
Yes.
big difference.
Absolutely.
So, and we hope to be able to continue to do that for a long time. So please, please, please support us. I can't ask you enough. We appreciate everybody for watching. So we'll just kind of end with have a great night, everybody, and stay local.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.